My class is at a school that's grades 6 through 12, and their 7th and 8th graders are looped together in one class. So I had 30 students, half 7th graders, half 8th graders, 8 of which are served by special ed services. So they have IEPs maybe for writing goals or reading goals or math goals, but it's a heterogeneous mix. On Tuesday, I had, and this was really brief, but you had an opportunity to look at a piece of text and just kind of get comfortable with it. And the purpose of today's lesson is to use a strategy to really understand and comprehend that text. So we're going to be working with the strategy of SOAPStone, and then at the end, I'm going to ask you to evaluate it, how you think it worked and why you think we did it. Will you please create a graphic organizer that has 6 rows, 2 columns, and that says the elements of SOAPStone. I know that most of you have used this strategy at least once, possibly in your social studies class, so you should have some awareness of it. What I'd like you to do next is attempt to define each of these terms in your own words. And you don't have to have definitions for all of them, nor do you need to go from the top to the bottom. Just brainstorm and just your initial gut feeling. How would you define those terms? And go ahead and work together. I'm only going to give you about 4 minutes for this. So talk about, discuss what those terms mean, and attempt to write down a quick definition. Go. So I knew that some of the terms within SOAPStone were going to be challenging for my students, but I didn't think that it was very purposeful if I just gave them what those terms were by means of the vocabulary and their definition. So I just put the terms and the acronym up on the board and asked students to brainstorm. What do they know about speaker? What do they know about occasion, audience, tone, and just allow them to explore those in their own words and their own ideas. So they did that individually, and then they had an opportunity to talk about it with their peers. So you guys, the purpose of this is just to have some working definition of these elements, and we'll talk through them. So as we are talking through them, I expect you to be taking some notes and writing down what works for you, so that when you're set off to do this thing alone, this, like I said, becomes your glossary. So subject people, will you come up here, and we'll tape your item up, and you can explain.
For our subject, like to define it, we kind of chose the topic. So like if there's a story, the subject is like the topic of it.
What about occasion?
We said it was where and why they're speaking, but it's also kind of a combination of them all. It's like why it's happening and where it's happening.
What about audience?
We said the audience was whom the writer was talking to, or the writing is geared towards.
Purpose.
We said it was kind of like occasion, about why you're writing, and so it's the same, because without a purpose, then your writing it won't really have anything to talk about because you don't have any ideas of the topic.
So you guys, I circled that word pratfalls. I thought that was an interesting word and one that maybe we could talk about. And I also underlined simply going his own way. A lot of connotative words in that paragraph. I circled the word scolds. I circled the word soberly. The dad's conflicted. And then that last sentence, he says, and I can't help secretly approving. I underlined that. Down that the speaker is a dad, and we know that the textual proof is because he's writing about his son. Let's skip down to audience. To whom do you think this dad is writing, and how do we know?
Maybe he's writing to the parents that were scolding his kids.
You kind of just spoke about some evidence. So other parents. So I'm going to follow up. How do you know? What in the text gives you that clue that this guy's writing to other parents?
It has a quote from one of the other mothers scolding his kid.
And what is that quote?
Levi has got to learn how to be a part of a team.
Good. So to actually record that here as textual proof that there's another parent saying, hey, your kid's got to learn how to be part of the team. And then what's the subject? Remember, the subject can just be brief, one word.
His son.
His son. Son playing soccer. That's it. Okay, let's go back to the text. Take a couple of minutes, finish silent reading, continue to mark the text. You're doing a great job highlighting connotative words, underlining some of the elements that you see. And when you're done, when your group is done talking, have a brief discussion about what you've noticed.
Levi always plays to please himself, so he's kind of comparing his life to Levi's life.
Hey, Mo, awesome thinking. And I've read this text like 4 times and I didn't key in. I had that feeling, but when you reference the text and it says, I've been playing to please myself, and then just a few sentences later it says, Levi always plays to please himself. So just repeating those same words, it brings that connection. I think that's really interesting. I think we're struggling at the beginning is occasion. So what prompted this dad to write this?
In like paragraph 4, it says, I'm proud to be raising a kid who manages to have fun doing something that used to make me miserable. And he's like telling parents that to kind of let their kids have fun because he's just realized that he was miserable doing it, but his son does it just to please himself.
There's some universal truths, there's some general understanding about life that you got even in this nonfiction piece. I asked, well, what's the author's purpose? Maybe it's to realize that you're a winner and it doesn't matter if your team won, you're still a winner inside. So I like how you noticed that. Thank you. How might this strategy be helpful outside of English language arts?
If you get like an email or a letter from somebody you don't agree with the ideas that are happening, then you might use this strategy to figure out at what point of view or why they're using that, why they're saying that.
Exactly. Written text that's even really short, be thinking about this to really get at point of view. I like how you said that. So you kind of uncover what that message is.
We could use it with like newspaper articles or internet articles to see if they're legit or they might be biased or something. So just like seeing if a piece of text is like really going to be helpful for us, like what the view is on it.
Okay.